Welcome to Pods and Pies. Our fake sponsor today is
Domino's Pizza.
Domino's Pizza.
We have usually the
best.
It is pretty damn good.
Hey, I love it.
I order that's literally almost every weekend. My kids ask me to order Domino's.
For Domino's?
And I have all my orders saved on the app and all that stuff, dude. I love it. I love
We've
it.
been doing the pie.
Yeah, the pie.
We're
You ever had the pie?
Yeah.
trying to find that sponsorship.
That's the closest thing I can find to the Chicago pizza.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we lived in Chicago.
Yeah.
The pie is the closest to Chicago I can find here.
And I think, their pizza, their pies that they have are awesome.
Yeah.
Their specialty pies, but we got a pepperoni a couple weeks ago.
They do a weird thing with the pepperoni.
Yeah.
If you ever remember, but they do a weird thing where they do like this, it's the bread, the sauce, and then they do the pepperoni and then the cheese on top of the pepperoni. So you don't know that the pepperoni is underneath.
It's underneath, yeah.
But I think that it makes the cheese all slide off much easier than normal. Like even from the sauce to cheese, I don't like it at all actually. It tastes fine, but I don't like eating it.
Yeah.
That's why we decided to do, if we were getting pep, we were going to do Domino's.
Yeah, so we got David Alsop on.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Good to be here.
I asked him, I said, what do you want? He said, I like pepperoni. If I'm getting crazy, I want pepperoni and sausage. So I did a regular pep, and then I did a thin crust of pep and sausage. So
Oh, perfect. Cool.
take your pick.
Yeah, no veggies. I'm good.
Okay. He said, if we're going to get really wild, I'm going to need a root beer.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I'm
yes.
boring. I'm boring on the food. Just meat and cheese, and that's good.
So before we got going on the pike, well maybe we recorded it, but you were saying you grew up here,
Mm-hmm.
Salt Lake area, but then you were in Chicago for a while. I don't know if that's where you went from being here, but yeah, where did you, what kind of took you to Chicago and then you came back? But I'm just kind of curious the timeline, history.
Yeah, my career. So I grew up here most of my life. My parents, when I was in high school, moved up to Park City. I went to Skyline High School here in Salt Lake.
Okay, yeah.
Went on an LDS mission. I played sports, growing up. So I was a baseball player, loved baseball. Went to school at Southern Utah University my freshman year. Then came back from my mission and went to BYU for a year and tried to play baseball there, and it didn't work out. So.
But did you play at SUU?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my freshman year I did. So.
What year was that?
That would have been 90. When was it? It would have been 96. 1996.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was
Interesting.
Yeah, that was back in the day when I was athletic and healthy.
So you graduated in 95?
Yeah, 95.
Same.
High school.
Okay, 95ers.
Yep.
We got 2005, no, 2003 or what year? 2003.
2003.
Just a few years. Okay.
Just a few years,
Yeah.
We got a couple years.
So my career took me to Chicago. So after school, I got a job with Kraft Foods and sales, and then moved into HR, and they moved me around the country. So we live in Denver, Chicago, Arkansas, and then Madison, Wisconsin, and then we decided Chicago was where the headquarters was, and we didn't want to go there, so me and my wife decided to jump and take a package and come back to Utah and see how we could make it work out here. And we love it. We love it in Utah.
Is she from here?
Mm-hmm. She's from Orem. Yeah.
Orem.
Yeah.
Where's your wife go to high school? I love playing the high school
She
game.
went
We
to
played
Orem.
all the time.
Yeah.
She was Orem High.
Yeah.
Same years? She younger
Yeah.
than you?
No, she's the same years as me. So, yeah, she would have graduated in 95.
Cool. Yeah, I was a Bruin.
Oh, you were?
95 Bruin, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, it was a good time. Good time. But yeah, it's, we've been in Utah for 4 years now. So we've been here.
That's it? It's only been 4 years since you've been back?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you'd been here a lot longer than that.
No, it's been
Okay.
4 years, I think.
Have you been in Ultradent since you came back?
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So I came back here and I didn't have a job, so I was, just doing the network thing. That's when I started up Disrupt. I just decided while I'm looking for a gig, that's going to help me get to know people.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it would take off like it did, just to get a solid audience and people that have a passion for what we were doing. But it took me about 9 months after I moved here to find the right gig, and I've loved Ultradent. It's a great place. We're on a growth trajectory to get to $1 billion right now. So we've got a goal to get to $1 billion by 2030, and we're excited. It's a great company, 4 years, and we're still growing.
You guys are in South Jordan?
Yep, South Jordan, right off of 106 South.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you been in that building?
Yeah, that building, it's been about 30 years. So our founder, Dr. Fisher, he started in his backyard in the farm,
Yeah.
the company there. You know, he had his family doing medical, devices and for the dentists. And eventually, yeah, they bought a property and they grew it there. So yeah, it's been at least 30 years they've been in South Jordan. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's a good story.
Okay, so you started at Kraft, but you
Yeah.
were in sales.
My first job, 3 years in sales. Yep.
So when did you know you wanted to get into HR? Did you get into it accidentally? I feel like everybody we talked to was like, yeah, I got an HR.
I was in the call center, and then next thing you know,
I was doing
I'm like,
finance, I was doing
HR.
this, and then they were like, oh, you'd be good at HR, so I jumped in and I liked it.
Yeah.
Same thing? Were you
Yeah,
happy-
same,
was that
pretty much the
accidental?
same. No, so when I went to school, I got my undergrad in marriage, family, human development because I thought I was going to be a therapist. I grew up with an environment where I kind of wanted to better my parents' marriage, and I thought I could do that, get a degree, and save other people's marriages for being better spouses. But yeah, it was about my senior year I realized I didn't want to do it after some internships, and so there's not much you can do with that degree if you don't do that. So I did take an organizational behavior class at BYU that I loved. It was my favorite class in college, and that's kind of when it hit me that I want to figure out how to get into HR because I thought that was HR. But with my degree, I ended up landing in craft foods and sales, and it was about a year in when I was ready for a promotion that I went to my boss and just said, hey, how do you get into HR here? And he had no idea. He looked at me like I was crazy. Why would you get into HR? And so it took me about a year and a half. I networked with the HR teams there. They hired from the top HR schools, so it wasn't normal in craft to hire someone from sales. But I made it in, and it took off from there. But the funny thing about HR was when I got into it, it was nothing like what I loved about that class. You guys probably hear this from Lisa and all the people here that are trying to change HR. It was all the administration. It was you deal with the problems, you fire people, you help us do it without getting sued.
It's like in that class, they're not talking about any of that.
No, it's about how do you grow an organization through people strategy? How do you align the passion and the hearts of the people to the strategy of the business? How do you make sure you're getting performance out of everybody on the teams, and they're satisfied and they're happy with their jobs? And so, it was more about how do you organize the workforce the right way to deliver results and keep people on board to deliver those results. And but when I got into it, it was how do you make sure and support the managers to fire without getting sued?
Yeah. So did you go back to BYU and was like, hey, this class was great, but you left out a giant piece of what is really happening, what we really have to deal with.
Do they have those
Or do they have
classes?
those classes now? Like, did you go
I
back
didn't get
and
my
say, hey,
degree.
what's the
I didn't get my
changes?
degree in their program, so I
Oh,
really
yeah.
didn't go to that program. They've got one of the top HR programs
Okay.
in the country. I think they're top 10. But the funny thing about a lot of the HR students that went there, since I've come back and gotten to know their program, a lot of them leave Utah because at the time when I was here, HR really wasn't a big opportunity. It was really, payroll, administration, all the things that I didn't want to get into. So I thought if I got into a big company, I can figure out how to grow with them. There's opportunities and get into it. And I thought they'd have modern HR. But Kraft, I spent my whole career, convincing, the HR function and my leaders that, hey, I'll get this stuff done, but give me the time to be able to do the right stuff. And really it was talking to leaders and saying, what's your strategy? How do we align people to that strategy? And my career, the reason I succeeded against all of the people that had the great degrees is because I talked to business leaders the way they wanted to talk about the people. And, so I ended up, my last job there, I was leading HR strategy at Oscar Mayer in Madison, Wisconsin, kind of the company within the company. And
So was that under Kraft?
yeah, so Kraft owns, a bunch of companies, but that was one of them. And
Every time I hear Oscar Mayer, I think of Sandlot.
Yeah.
Remember the part when he says,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
like,
it's
"Oh,
Oscar Mayer
second,
Wiener."
Weenie.
Yeah,
And
Wiener.
one of the guys is like, oh, he's a total Oscar Mayer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
that's, no, that's okay. I actually managed HR strategy for, one of my responsibilities there was the Wienermobile. So that was my favorite job. I had.
That's actually a car that looks like a hot dog.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So they have Oscar Mayer. At the time I was there, they had 6, Wienermobiles, and they hired 2 people to drive around in the Wienermobile for a year. So it's usually college students out of school, and you'd be amazed how many people apply for the job.
That's a great marketing strategy. Have a freaking car like a hot dog.
Yeah, no, it was actually the first icon. Like it's an old concept, but the Oscar Mayer kicked off the concept of cars, icons, things that drive around, or things that you throw at people. So that was a fun gig because it's just, once that Wienermobile pulls up into a store somewhere, all the kids get excited and everyone loves it.
Yeah.
It's a fun gig for the kids that do it.
All right, let's. I'm gonna back up.
Okay.
Because I want to hear timeline here. So graduated. Did you get married while you were in college?
No.
Okay. So when did you meet your wife then?
I met her about a year and a half after I graduated from BYU.
Okay. But at this point, you're with Kraft.
Yeah. When I met her, I was with the Kraft. So we met here in Salt Lake. We met in our church group.
Okay.
And she'd never moved before outside of, from home to her first job out of school. And
So you were working for Kraft at that point from Salt Lake, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had a rep. I was a sales rep, and I had their Walmart accounts in
Okay.
about 3 or 4 states. So just servicing their accounts and selling our products to them, incrementalizing our business for them.
Gotcha.
But yeah, my wife, yesterday was our 16th anniversary, and we've moved 5 or 6 times, and she loved moving after the first one, but the first time we moved, it was horrible. She hated it. So, yeah. But yeah, it was
I'm
an
actually
adventure.
didn't like it just because it was so different.
Yeah, well, we moved to Denver. That was the first time she moved, and it was really, getting to know people, and she didn't know a lot of people, and so that was different for her, where all of her friends were here. But
Right.
so we moved every 3 years, so I was always on the move, and that was the career path for Kraft Foods, to go to different places in the company.
So that's their thing. Like if you're moving up,
Yeah.
you're taking different positions in different cities, different states to get to that next level.
Yeah, those huge companies. I mean, it's interesting. When I moved back here, people looked at my resume, and I was there for 13 years. And when I came here, it was interesting. When I was applying for jobs, trying to network for a head of HR job, a lot of the tech companies were just like put off by me because my resume, had all my experiences were with Kraft. And it baffled me because from where I came from, it was like 10, 13 years. That's when
that's a
the
legit
right
resume.
amount of time.
Yeah.
But here,
So like, why do you think they were turned off?
One, because I came from big company. There's a lot of fear of big company people coming in and needing resources. They want to implement processes, and so there's a fear of what they bring.
Gotcha.
But also just, it's kind of a norm here that's been interesting for me to get used to, where it's pretty normal for people in companies to jump around every 2 to 3 years, partly because of the money you can make off it. But I'd always try to tell them, it's a big enough company that you're working at companies within the company, so try to compare that.
Yeah, it's not just Kraft. You're dealing with all the subsidiaries of different companies they own.
Yeah.
Different
So-
cultures, different, yeah.
Which,
absolutely.
do you know?
And the Wienermobile. Did you put that on the resume?
Yeah.
That would actually, that might look cooler for Silicon Slopes companies.
Yeah.
Like, no,
one of
I
my
staffed the Wienermobile.
One of my favorite things is, I'm still friends with the people that lead the Wienermobile program, and when we moved into our neighborhood, I reached out to them, and I had to deal with them when I left. Can I just have you guys come to my house one time with the Wienermobile? And, they came out our first week there, and we had about 300 people come to our house and get to know us a little bit, and it was the best networking opportunity
That's
to
cool.
move into a neighborhood. So
You just went from like, I have no idea who this family is, to the favorite family on the street.
Yeah, dude, the normal,
Yeah.
normal dudes.
Except they just knew we were the Wiener people, so that was the only issue we had, is we were the Wiener people. So. but
You're
yeah.
a sports guy. You're a sports guy.
It's funny. I love sports, but I'm kind of mixed on. I don't really have one team that I follow. I love the Jazz
Yeah.
when they're playing good, but I'm pretty fickle on sports in general. Like
I was just wondering, like, when you were in Wisconsin, was there a team? I mean, did you get into college team or pro team or anything like that? Or?
That was one of our things. We always adopted the team there, but we didn't really go to a lot of games. So we loved University of Wisconsin. Like when you're in the Big Ten football schools, like you got to go to one game just to experience what that's like. You know, we went to one game at Camp Randall, and you know, it was just an amazing atmosphere. I've never heard, you know, a whole student section in one, you know, loud over and over again section saying the F-bomb to the other team. So, you know, it was just the passion of those schools is so much, it's bigger than what we have here. So, but I never really picked a team to follow. You know, we just, every team where we went to a Cubs, you know, when we were in the Chicago area. We had the minor leagues in Arkansas when we were there. But yeah, sports, you know, I love them, but I don't, you know, even with BYU in Utah, I grew up in a Utah family. My dad, my mother, my sister, my brother, they all went to school there. And I went to BYU, so I was the black sheep. And so my wife's family is true blue. Like they love BYU, they're passionate about it.
Utah County, just they love it.
They love it.
Or
yeah. But I grew up in Salt Lake, conditioned that that's a weird place in Utah Valley, right? And so it's kind of fun in my family because everyone hates me because I just go for who's winning. Like if Utah's doing well, I love Utah. If BYU's doing well, I love BYU. And sometimes at halftime, I choose who I'm rooting for. So if you want to talk to me about like sports, I can talk about it, but you're probably going to hate me because if you have a passion for one team, I'm just, you know, I just love to watch and have fun with it.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so got married.
Mm-hmm.
First place was Denver.
Yep.
Were you into HR at this point, or is this still sales?
Denver was my first HR job as a training and staffing manager. So that's how I got into, you know, HR there is, I was at Kraft and they had purchased Nabisco about, you know, 2 years into my career there. And they were looking for someone that can come into a different culture and help them understand the culture I came from. And so that was probably the only way I got into HR in that company is they saw me as someone that could bring and train their salespeople on how to, you know, integrate to the Kraft mindset. And, you know, so that kind of set my career as I've always gone into change situations and been the outsider coming in. And it was interesting. I learned very early on what that's like because I was very naive, just going from a Kraft company to the company that got taken over. The hatred of Kraft was very large.
Really?
And so when I got there, you know, I'd be working with people and I'm their training supervisor for the whole region.
And they immediately probably hate you. Or did they just lump you into the...
Well, yeah, how could you hate?
No, I'm just saying, hey, man, if they kind of hate the parent company, the Kraft, you know, just purchasing stuff, I don't know, maybe it rolls over like, oh shit, dude, this guy's coming in.
No, it's kind of the cultural dynamic. When you have like Nabisco was a proud company. And, you know, when I came there, I was just naive on everything. I was a salesperson. I grew up in Utah, and I was the only sales rep for my account in Utah. And so when I went there, it was my first time being a part of a team. And I'd go out and work with people, try to understand what they were doing to help with their training plans. And they all wore Nabisco. They would never wear the Kraft badge, you know, when they were in the stores. And they'd always look at me because we had different models where I was more of a salesperson and they merchandised. Because in that business you have, you know, product that ships through the customer, which Kraft was selling through, and then you have product that ships through your warehouses and trucks in and you have to stock it. And they just looked at me as like, you're the prima donna that never picks up the product and never sells. And it took me a while to, you know, earn their trust and earn their respect. And I always learned that, and it helped me when I came here. It's like I was the outsider coming from the Fortune 500 when I came here to Ultranet. And, you know, it was something where I had to work through that trust building process. And it takes time when you're an outsider to build that. And it's always permeated my careers. You know, I was the only one at that time that went from a Kraft sales organization into a Nabisco sales organization as an outsider. And they loved that about me at Kraft, that I could move into those experiences and be kind of the calm one that comes in and just lets people build trust with me. And it's ironic because I found it disrupt here in Salt Lake City because I'm not really, you know, the person that comes in and shakes things up as much as, you know, strategy sometimes takes time.
Right.
Bringing people along sometimes takes time, and that's really helped me in my career to be able to help people along the change curves that they go through. Is how do you help them along slowly, have patience, educate them, and you know, it really has a lot to do with disruption for me when it comes to how do you change cultures and how do you help them grow.
Right.
So.
Want to take a bite of pizza?
Yeah, one bite. Gotta get some sausage here.
I'm glad everybody knows the rules.
Well, what was your next stop after Denver?
So after that, I went to Chicago.
Okay. What was the role there?
I went to Chicago as an analyst, and so I became an analyst for the National Retail Organization. So by the time,
Is this still considered in like the HR department?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that was in the HR department. So
So what are you analyzing? What are you looking at?
at that time, it was analyzing the training and capabilities. So I was the one that was able to bring the two workforces together and train on both and develop training for both Kraft and Nabisco in the sales functions. And so at that time, we were the first ones doing that because the way Kraft purchased Nabisco is they left them as separate companies for about 5 years. And so I was brought to Chicago to be a part of the team that was unifying the organization and basically, you know, not having separate sales forces and
Having
unifying.
that marriage there.
So I had the analytical responsibilities and the training development responsibilities to really help over, I think it was 11,000 people, you know, come together into one company and identify which resources, which programs we go for to be able to, you know, train people to do it the unified way versus the separate ways they were doing it. So, yeah, so that was fun.
That's a lot. How many employees is Kraft? Like with all of their subsidiary, like your Nabisco's and stuff, do you have an idea?
It was, right now, when I left Kraft, it was Kraft Heinz because they merged with Heinz at that time. It was a lot of mergers and acquisitions. They had 29,000 people globally. So it always ranged between 22,000 up to 30,000 depending on the mergers that they did. So it's really, you know, the difference with a company that I'm a part of right now is, you know, you get to know people, you get to know the whole organization, a company like that, you're getting to know pieces of it and parts of it and
There's so many
new
people.
geographies, yeah.
So you're analyzing over half, I mean, about half the employees, having bringing these two companies together to
Yeah,
create that
sales.
marriage, right?
Yeah, sales was a big part of it.
And then you went to Wisconsin after Chicago?
No, I went to Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
you said that,
So I got a second job, and I got my first HR manager job in Chicago, managing HR for all of their, they call them growth channels, just all the random stores, you know. And so Kraft was built on mainstream supermarkets. So like here would be your Smiths, your Walmarts, but they had these channels like convenience stores at 7-Eleven and dollar stores. They had about 7 organizations, they called them the growth channels, that at that time they were the organizations that there was kind of a running joke that that's where you send people to die, because the people that are growing in their careers in tenure, you know, let's send them to that place because we don't have a lot of business there. And so, you know, they brought me into HR there, and at that time they were growing those businesses and having exponential growth happen.
Were you nervous? Like,
With that one, that was my first real HR manager job. And
because you mentioned that that's where they sent people to die. Like when you got that position, you're like, oh hell. This might be the end of the rope. I don't know.
I'm not a very strategic career person. I was just happy to have the HR job because I was always kind of the person that was looked at as the outsider in HR too. So for me, that was my real HR job. And it was a stretch for me because the person I replaced was a director, and they put me in there with the same responsibilities as just an HR manager. And I always remember my boss that assigned me that job. He was the head of HR for the sales organization at Kraft, and you know, he just came to me one day and said, "You want to get into HR manager role, right?" I said, "Yeah, I want to do that." I said, "Well, we're going to put you here." And I looked at him and said, "So you want me there where he was a director?" And there was 7 teams across the country spread out. And he said, "Yeah, you know, can you do it?" I said, "Yeah." well, don't mess it up. And that was my invite to do it. But I loved it. I spent 2 years in that job and got to know, the business better, and helped relocate some businesses to new places and really help those strategies move forward. And then they put me in my next job down in Bentonville, Arkansas for the Walmart account. So that was, I think it was around 20 to 25% of Kraft's revenue globally went through that one place.
This is for all Walmarts?
Mhm.
Okay.
So they were kind of on their own. Interesting, a lot like sometimes what happens here. They were a team that had all the budget, all the money. Walmart was the dominating revenue player for us, and they never had HR on site before, so they sent me down there to identify how to create performance in a world where they'd grown just through store growth. They'd grown the sales there for Kraft for about 10 years with Walmart's growth in grocery. And then about 2 years before I got there, they stopped hitting their numbers and they stopped delivering results, and they were declining. And so they said, we need to figure out how to turn the tide of the people dynamic of what's going on down there. So I got involved there just to help identify, how to find the people strategy that helps turn the tide of the business strategy, essentially.
Yeah. Which was what? Could you nail it down to a few things, or like, this is what's going on, this is why?
Yeah, no, it was.
'Cause that's interesting to me. Like, you think of like sales declining.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just never think of like, okay, well, we need to send an HR rep in to see why sales are declining in this area. Like, usually it's like, let's get somebody in finance to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, it was basically the person they assigned there. He was on the executive team of Kraft. It was so big, they assigned him to be the head of Walmart sales, and he came in and identified that they need to figure out how to turn the culture around, and so that's why they needed HR. But no one at Kraft wanted to go there in HR. Everyone had their comfort zones, and the thing about Bentonville, Arkansas, is that a lot of people in a lot of companies, like Walmart, requires you to have a headquarters office there to sell to them. It's just a requirement. That's how they built the community there. And so a lot of people in the business said, no one wants to go there, but once they go there, they never leave, which is true. And that's kind of what happened. When I got there, I got there just to get to know people, understand what's going on from the sales standpoint and the personnel standpoint. And I noticed early on there was these dominant players that had been there for about 15 years. They were tenured, they were pretty close to retirement, strong personalities, strong relationships with the customer historically. And then we had these younger talents that were up and comers in the company, that when I talked to them, I noticed major egos with these guys just saying, I had one of them just say, all you need to know about me is I've got 2 years left to retire. I'm one of the top sellers here, and HR can stay away from me. Then I go to these other people and just get to know them, ask them how it's going, and I hear these complaints about, we have these two people that I'm a salesperson that has an opinion, and we're trying to grow this business, and they shoot down everything. And now when I look back at your classical change management situation, is you have some people that struggle with change,
Right.
and there was a lot of change that they were able to resist, and then you had these younger talents that they were there to be able to bring change and bring sales, but they were being pushed back. And so what I ended up doing there is identifying the reality is they had a lot of money that they were spending on keeping people happy to retain them, because it was a hot market with all the companies down there that would pay a lot of money to get talent from the big companies. But I came in and just started talking to them about, let's talk about our people from the aspect of how they're performing with their sales results, and how they're performing from a human standpoint with the value systems that we say we believe in, but people aren't really holding accountability to those values. And so we had these performance reviews, calibrations, and just sit down. In my first year there, we had a calibration where I brought everyone together in the executive team. We sat down and we just went through each person and said, how are they performing from a results standpoint? How are they performing from a leadership standpoint in our culture? And what was very glaring when we put numbers up on the wall, they were trying to give people, top bonuses and high performance measures with we put red, green, and yellow. Did they hit the numbers? Did they not hit the numbers? And all these people that didn't have, results delivered were getting their bonus. They were getting their, their increases and everything just as high as everybody else. So it's hitting the numbers. And so we'd have this discussion the first year where, as an HR person, I partner with the leader of that team just to say, so why are you giving them their full bonus when they're not hitting their numbers? And, it just came down to this, well, if we don't do that, we'll lose them.
Yeah.
And so then I'd go through and say, well, let me ask you this question. You're going to lose, and a lot of it was these two guys, two guys that were dominating the culture of that sales team. I just said, so I hear from a lot of the talent in this organization that those two guys that are getting these numbers that you're worried about losing are actually making it hard for them to have a voice on this team. And it just ensued this amazing discussion where the president was not going to let it down. He had my back as the HR person to challenge the conversation. And all of a sudden they started talking about, actually 5 years ago, it's interesting, I didn't know he was doing that to other people. He almost got fired because someone left the organization and wrote a message to the CEO of Kraft Foods about him. And so we came out of that, and they were required to give those people a message that you're not getting your full bonus and you're not getting your full performance unless you change how other people feel about you and you hit your results. A year later, those two guys were gone by their own choice. We had promoted some younger talent in, and they started hitting the numbers again.
Yeah.
And for me, that was the first time I really had an experience where I could see the power of human resources on performance. Because when you get the culture right, when you hold people accountable, and not just to the numbers, but to the culture, if you can get those two things right, you have happy people, you have partnerships, you have a team working together, pushing in the same direction. And that was honestly one of the best experiences I've had in my career, because it really set the tone for me of how I believe we need to, manage people and work with people and help people succeed.
Right.
So,
That's a great story. But from when you decide, because I imagine you have to decide, okay, here's a strategy. Okay, we're going to, we looked at all the numbers, we're going to implement getting your bonuses. But I mean, is this over months and months of conversation trying to figure it out? Or is this just you going in and within weeks you can figure out kind of why these two guys are hurting the culture? Let's make a decision and then they're gone by a month? Or is this more of a longer, I'm just kind of curious on that side. Because sometimes I see, my experience is, you want to just come in and drop the hammer and get something done in 2 weeks or whatever, but it does take, it just seems like it takes 3 times as long as what you hope it would take to maybe change something or implement a new strategy.
I think it's the size and scale you're dealing with.
Yeah.
That team, because I had other responsibilities outside of that team, but that was my main responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It was about 150 people at that site, so it was a smaller group to be able to really assess, but it did take 6 months to really get a feel for the team, get a feel for the leadership. And it was really month 8 and 9 where we sat down and had hard discussions about what was really going on there. So to me, and this is how I feel about when you're making assessments on people for their careers, is I really don't believe you can have true legacy in a job until you deliver results that usually occur in the second and third years of the job.
Yeah.
Which is hard in a market like this because people want to just progress their careers really fast.
Yeah.
But that took a year for us to start seeing the fruit of hard discussions and turning into performance at the same time with happy people. So, it's different when you go to an Oscar Mayer, where in my third year, I had a new president and we were working on different parts of that organization that I was responsible for on the same things. And, by the time we started seeing it turn, the merger happened and we ended up deciding to shut down the site and move everything to Chicago, which is why I left. I didn't want to move with it. So it's interesting what came out of that experience for me is something that we're doing at Ultradent right now.
I was gonna ask you, like, how's Ultradent different? I mean, kind of, if you, hopefully, I know you probably can get to it, but comparing the two kind of companies, you know, in that experience.
Yeah, Ultradent is a company that, and this is why I love the company. They have 40 years under their belt under an inspirational, iconic leader in the dental industry. That one of the core values that they have is care. And we have a core value that we drive. And so when I came there, I just saw they have care. And as an HR leader, that's one of the easiest things to work with when you have care, to balance that with the responsibility to deliver results. And so we call it the X model. There's a company called GP Strategies that I ran into when I was at Kraft Foods, where the X model is basically two sides to an equation. One side, you have the company that needs each employee to deliver maximum contributions. The other side is you have employees that are looking for maximum satisfaction from the company. And in the middle, you meet in their job. And you have a manager that's responsible for them, that has the most impact on their ability to have clarity to contribute and understand and be able to voice what it takes to be satisfied. And so I just build my HR strategy around that, is that if we can get the workforce to have clarity for outcomes, and we hold clarity for if they delivered those outcomes or not, and then we can have conversations with those employees to have that, but also ask them, well, what does it take for you to be happiest here? You know, if we can have those ongoing conversations, you start to build something where the employee is able to tell you, you know, what it takes. And I've had employees on my team that it's become clear that I'm not going to be able to deliver what it takes for them to be happy. And I've had to work with people to say, okay, well, you'll just have to let me know if you're going to leave or not. Give me some notice, but I support you in that. I want you to be happy to get to that ideal, what we call the apex of performance and satisfaction. And if we can get people close there on a consistent basis, it makes a huge difference in the culture. So that's, you know, yeah, if anyone wants to learn about that, they can just go online and type the X model on YouTube and see a video that we base our strategy around for the human factor. And
Is that something that you, sorry, I don't know if you said this, something that you brought in, or was that already there when you had joined?
No, we brought it in. We actually had developed a leadership program that we started right before COVID that is based on this X model of leadership. And we center everything around the manager skill set, around working with their employees to deliver on results, but also talking to them about what's their satisfaction driver, whether it be career, whether it be work-life balance, whatever it may be. How do we figure out how to support both those areas? So, so right now we've actually got a video out, and we're doing virtual trainings with all of our leaders to navigate the X model and understand how it works. And it's very impactful. Managers love it. It's very simple. And so, yeah.
You might have said, so how many employees are at Ultradent? What do you guys have?
We were at 1,700 prior to COVID. Now we're right around 1,500 and building back. And so, yeah, it's 1,500 around the globe. We've got most of our employees, about 1,200 employees here in the U.S., and then smaller sub-sites around the global landscape.
How many in Utah?
Utah.
Majority?
Yeah, majority. So we have Salesforce across the U.S. In Utah, we probably have, right now, we're probably at 1,100 in Utah. So the majority are in Utah.
Yeah.
About 250 around the globe, and then we have about 100 people spread across the U.S.
Okay. Awesome. When you came to Ultradent, because it appears, I mean, the stories that you told us when you were with Oscar Mayer and Kraft and stuff, like you had management basically backing you, they had your back on the decisions that you wanted to implement and make. When you came to Ultradent, did you kind of feel, because the conversation we have with a lot of HR people is, do you have a seat at the table? Do you feel like you have a seat at the table? Like when you came to Ultradent, did you feel like, yeah, I have a seat at the table, like they're going to listen and support the things that I want to put into place? Or is that one of those things you just kind of came in like, hey, I gotta build trust?
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta build trust everywhere.
Yeah,
but-
I'm just trying to figure out how to say it very clearly, knowing that some people will see this. I'm pretty honest with them about where I'm at. I'm in a very good place going into year 3 in what was originally a 5-year strategy that I thought would be a 7-year strategy after I really got in there and realized this is going to take more time.
I mean, with your background, I just feel like you can speak the language of the
Yeah.
CEO, the CFO, the COO, like.
Yeah, it wasn't right away because there's a whole culture built around a certain kind of HR. They'd been practicing HR at Ultradent in a way that was the old way. And so when I got there, I had 4 business partners that were responsible for really employee relations, the issues, the reactive stuff. And then I have a team of about 17 people that, we have events, we have benefits.
Did you say 17? Okay.
Yeah, and so, but the majority of my business partners, which is the business partnership role, we're doing employee relations, we're labor relations, we're the issue management stuff, the discipline. And, that was the first thing I realized when I got there is we have to change how we do this. So we assigned that work to one person, and this is the strategy for me in HR, is how do you focus really the traditional things, the old things is what I call them, that you have to do. You have to deal with issues and do them the right way for the person, the regulations, and the organization. We assign that to one person that is very, very good at that on our team, and then we assign the business partners to focus on the strategic, things that I've worked on in my career, which is how do you align the people to the strategy? How do you work with leaders to be great leaders? And I was actually seeing your podcast with Elisa that she talks about the traffic cop and
Right.
the billboard.
Yeah.
I call
Wait,
HR.
you listen to it?
I did.
We got listeners.
Oh, we got one.
Yeah,
We got one.
listeners. You got listeners. I was binge watching last night just to get ready for all the questions you guys asked in fun. But I call it architect. I don't believe HR is there to be the rock stars in front of the people. HR is behind the scenes, that if I can make the CEO and I can provide the tools to all of his executives, and then my team can provide that down the line to all the leaders, and then down to the employees, for them to be the best they can be through leadership development, culture development, employment branding to attract people, analytics to make the right decisions on people. If you can make them the best they can be, or support them to find their path to be the best they can be, you don't need HR doing anything else. And so I call to the architects for the people that are actually building the business, selling the business, driving the business. And so really at Ultradent, we've been on a journey where I came in and I made mistakes when I got there, quite honestly, because I just started this conference called Disrupt HR. I'm not an extrovert by any means. Like the people I surrounded myself with at Disrupt have been like Elisa, Jerry, these personalities, Aubrey Rosen, all these personalities that are very, very competently strong personalities. And here I am, kind of the person that I'm an introvert. I'm more soft-spoken, I'm more reserved. And so I thought I had to come in, and so I'm the disruptor, and I believe in disruption. So I'm going to come into Ultradent and I'm going to disrupt. I rolled out a strategy within 30 days. 30 days they said, hey, present your strategy, and I came and just presented my strategy. My team wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for them, to follow it. And I really spent my first year and a half in that company with a mix of confusion, because I came in and just had a strategy that we are going to do this. They were used to just doing the reactive stuff that the organization expected them to do. And we're just getting our momentum to have everyone realizing this is the right way to do it. The organization is coming along to realize this is how we do it. We have a new CEO that replaced our founder that is seeing the vision of that and helping us drive it forward, where COVID has probably been the best thing for my function right now. Because with a new CEO, with
And how long has he been there?
He's been there for, I think he's been over there for over 10 years, at least 10 years.
Oh, okay.
So he's grown up a lot of his career there, mentored by the founder, and we have an amazing founder, created an amazing culture that has grown for 40 years, and we're still growing. But we have a CEO that's coming in now to carry that legacy the right way, but adopt some of these strategies that we've been talking about since I've been there for the last 3 years. So, it's really taken these incremental steps for a culture to start to adopt and understand what modern HR is, because there is so much connotation on HR in general, whether it be through the media, whether it be just through, the services they provided. Everyone still, in many organizations, just thinks, I only go to HR if I have a problem.
There's issues, right? Yep.
There's issues, or they need to tell me my benefits. And, we've been working for the last 3 years to tell them we've got support, we've got learning, we've got development, we've got strategic change management skills, we've got things that we can help you with. And, our organization is starting to pick up on I can go to them for that.
Is it hard to get that message across?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
'Cause I feel like I look back at other companies that I've been with, you hear that message a lot.
Yeah, but you never do
But
it.
it's just like, oh yeah, if I have a problem, I'm not gonna go talk to my HR.
I think that's the hardest thing about HR is the perceptions on it. We've got a lot of momentum in this market with HR that's talking the right way, and that was the purpose of Disrupt, is to change the conversation in this marketplace from the traditional conversation about benefits, policies, employment law, to those things plus the things that I'm talking about, which, how do you get the culture right? So Ultranet's a prime example that it's an amazing organization. A lot of passionate people that, I'll give you an example. We've got my specialty functions all aligned. We just had this outlier position that was struggling. I've had turnover in the position with people coming in that met my strategy, aligned with my strategy, but the culture didn't accept them. And they didn't accept the culture in many ways. And so we just moved away, and we don't have business partners anymore. We have a manager of talent success and an associate manager of talent success. We're using a title that matches what we're doing because we can't get people to understand what they're doing with the HR work, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And so it's been interesting to see, as we've gone down in headcount to reassess our strategy on that business partner role, people are engaging it more than we've ever had because they're clicking with, talent success. I can go to them for something that's positive, something that's engaging, something that's learning. And we have a lot of marketing that's going out with videos, with modern videos and modern training and development that's getting people to understand, there's some cool stuff coming from HR.
Right.
And so people are seeing us in a different light than they ever have. And it's really taken the first year and a half to get my team on the same page. Then working on the same page with the skill sets, having a CEO that comes in and understands that. And COVID honestly fast-tracked a lot of what we did because we had to learn virtual.
Right.
We had to learn how to hold people, to outcome-based work from home. And it just fit right into the strategies that we've been having. We just introduced an inclusion strategy for the organization because the riots that are going on right now scares us to death that that's going to come into our culture. And we have a very proud culture that we care about each other, no matter who you are, but we know that there's biases, and we know that we all have to be open and understanding of our own biases, to be open and talk about those things and include everybody, no matter who they are, and what they believe and what they're about. And so we got an inclusion strategy that came because our CEO knew that we were talking about that we were talking about, hey, we need to develop this strategy, we need to push it forward. And as soon as the riots hit, he, came to me and said, you're right, we need to do this. He sent out a note to the organization that racism is not acceptable here. I want to reinforce that. And we had a very diverse population. We have a diverse population, quite honestly, for Utah, because we have a manufacturing operation that we've hired immigrants over time. We've hired internationally over time. That gives us a lot of diversity. that population really started sending notes in and just saying, thank you for
That's cool.
making that communication to tell us that we're doing this, and then we developed the strategy and rolled it out, and we're working through it right now, but
Is that difficult to roll out during this,
COVID.
like during COVID?
For manufacturing, yeah.
Okay.
So we've got our corporate environment's simpler and easier to communicate just because of technology. Our manufacturing is the more difficult one that we have. You know, we have to do the paper and the posters, and you have to get
Right.
stuff out, and you
Yeah.
have to get in front of them. And so COVID's been the most difficult from that aspect because we're protecting our production workers on site by not bringing ourselves on site so that they can
Okay.
come to work, feel safe, know that they're protected. And so it's really hard for us where we're just starting to be able to get back into getting in front of them and getting them what they need. So, yeah, I just, I'm
Sounds
very-
like you're kicking butt over there.
yeah, no, we've got a lot of good stuff going on. We've got a great leadership team. And I think we're very proud of it because, you know, Ultradent's a very unknown organization here, and it's one of the bigger
absolutely.
organizations in Utah.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to make sure people.
You definitely fly under the radar, I think,
Yeah.
when it comes to kind of just name recognition.
Yeah, and that's one of our employment brand strategies is how do we get our name out there? We're sponsoring TEDx as their main sponsor right now.
I saw that.
And we're doing those kind of things because it fits our culture, and we want people to know that, you know, we're a manufacturer in the state. We're not in the tech sector, but we're a pretty darn good organization to come and work for, have success with. And oh, by the way, we've been growing for 40 years, nonstop.
Well, I'll tell you what, your name is gonna explode after this podcast.
Oh, yeah, pods of
Yeah.
life.
Sure.
It's like, dude, we never, oh, yeah, now we
Just
don't.
get it out there, we want people to know.
1,500 employees, you're gonna go up to
Oh,
2,000
gosh.
like this.
Hey, real quick, totally switching gears, Brandon. I noticed you have a Fitbit.
Mm-hmm.
Why Fitbit?
Because I didn't want to spend money last year on iWatch. I had an iWatch before. And,
Yeah.
I
I
just
know it's
wanted-
random. I
Yeah,
just was kind of.
I didn't feel like paying the money last year, and so I got
Do you use it? I mean, do you like the smartwatch thing, or do you use it for like fitness? I mean, is that just?
I only like it for fitness. I'm not that.
Yeah.
I just believe if
So
I
what do
have
you
a phone, I can use
do for you bike? Do you do stuff? Like what do you do for activities outside?
Well, before 4 months ago, nothing. So, I actually have lost 40 pounds during COVID.
No, you have not. Bull crap.
Yeah.
Hold on. 40 pounds?
Yeah. So
And like what?
Dude,
6
what?
months?
That's crazy.
I know.
That's amazing. Hold on.
That's what I'm saying, that's great. It's been like, what, 6 months?
yeah, I did.
That's
No,
amazing.
Okay, hold on. How much do you weigh right now?
I'm 165 right now.
165. So you were 200, at least 200.
Mm-hmm.
And you're what? You're 5'11"?
5'9".
Okay, 5'9".
Yeah.
That's me, 165.
Okay, so you're a little chubby. Let's just put it that way. You were a little chubby at 5'9".
I thought I was.
You were okay. So now you've lost 40 pounds over the last handful of months.
Yeah.
But okay, so then what are you doing for exercise?
Is this why you put pizza on your plate?
Yeah, dude, you just
Well, you never eat well when you're in.
I know.
Yeah, no,
We always put you in a tough spot.
I can't tell you how many jobs I've interviewed where they're like, "Hey, eat." No, you're interviewing.
Yeah, it's like no, I can't talk in my. If I talk in my mouth, I'm not gonna get a job.
Yeah, for me, I've been that person that every January I'm like, I'm gonna get healthy, and I've been doing that for 30 years. So for me, I think just we did a ton of layoffs at the start of COVID because everyone was bracing for the loss of money, and we had a major impact on the business. So I had major stress with that, with working through that strategy of having the largest layoff in this company they've ever had, and doing it the right way, and doing it in a way that we know we can help people know we care about them. My sister, she died of ALS recently, and I watched that progress in her life, and I reached my pinnacle number for weight. Like I reached the highest weight I'd ever been. So I just sat down one day, and just decided, okay, I can't do the Ironman. I'm sick of doing that. I have sports-induced asthma. I get exhausted anytime I do it, but I keep doing that. The last 30 years, I'm going to do what, the cool guys that are doing Ironman, marathons, mountain biking, all that stuff. I ended up just saying, hey, let's just walk. Like, just walk 60 minutes a day and just make that stick. And if I can do that, let's see if it works. I didn't believe I could lose weight doing that. So I did that for 30 days, 60 minutes every morning. COVID helped.
You said 60, not 16. You said 60, like 1 hour.
Yeah, 60 minutes.
Okay, sorry. When I first started,
Yeah.
I said 16.
Yeah, 1 hour, 60 minutes. But I just made a goal to do that and keep it a habit. I've never been good with the habit on exercise, but I chose something that I knew I could do, and I call it the lazy version of exercise. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna be me, not kill myself. I'm just gonna walk for, an hour every morning. So after 30 days, that was sticking, and I kind of got back to the usual weight I can usually get back to, which was like 195. So I was like, okay, well, it worked to get me there. So then I started doing, the diet as far as how I eat. And so I just started managing calories well, getting habits around what I eat, and made that my next step for, a habit that if I can just eat this way for the next 30 days, it'll stick. And I noticed the weight started going off there. And so it was really those two things that I've been doing those ever since. And it's, I've been the healthiest I've ever been in my life. And, it's affected my, my mental health, my physical health, everything. So it's,
That's amazing.
yeah, COVID's
That's so
been good.
cool, man.
COVID's been good to me.
I mean, because people,
40 pounds down. That's awesome.
people think like they have to do like the most intense stuff. I mean, you've been watching what you eat and walking.
Mm-hmm.
40 pounds later.
We have a health, I have a wellness coordinator on my team, and she does an amazing job just getting webinars and trainings out to our workforce, and brings people in that are health gurus in the organization. They teach people, here's what I did.
Yeah.
And when my team started seeing a difference in how I looked, she just said, well, why don't you do this?
You're the
Like,
next
what
guru.
am I going to tell people? And I got on and just told people on this webinar pretty much what I told you guys. I went through my life, how I struggled. I was very, very honest about things in my life that have impacted my psyche on exercise and health. But I walked people through what I did and just said, not everyone's the same. Not everyone's going to go out and, have a habit and be able to do a habit where they can do the amazing things that we all see on TV. They're always promoted. It was amazing how many people emailed me in our organization and just said, I can't tell you how much that helped me because I'm like you. I don't know how to do what they do and make it work. I'm
Right.
lazy. I don't like to work hard and go through pain. And I told them I don't like pain.
They're telling you, I'm like you, I'm lazy.
Yeah, which I didn't, I told my wellness coordinator that I don't know that I'm going to be a help to anybody because
Yeah.
I'm lazy, I'm just lucky, right? I feel very lucky that it just worked out for me, and not everybody's body can, adapt the same way, but I didn't realize how much there's, that image we look for in society and media portrays, that there's people suffering because they don't know that you can do it your way, that you can do it the right way for you.
Right.
And that's all I did is I found what's right for me. My marriage is benefiting from this. Not that it was suffering before, but it's enhanced right now because my wife got involved and was like, well, why don't we go on a walk at night? So our neighborhood thinks we're crazy because I'll go on my walk early in the morning, and then at night, every night before we go to bed, we go on, anywhere from a 20 to 45-minute walk, depending on if we go on our walk in the morning. So it's been big for me just to do it my way and be the lazy exerciser, and it's worked for me.
You got the wiener people out there walking around the neighborhood.
Yeah, the wiener people, yeah.
So do you like the data, from the watch? Do you track calories, distance, and then you kind of look at it? And is that? And I'm gonna ask because I'm just kind of curious about when I first started wearing a watch for fitness.
Yeah.
Dude, the data, I don't know what it was about. It motivated me to even to continue to be consistent with working out, because whether it was accurate or not, I love the data. I love the feedback. I love seeing time, calories, you know, where I was, the distance, like all those things. And I had Fitbit forever. I loved it. But
I love, I just don't like the technology. Like Apple has the technology. I think Fitbit has the exercise stuff.
yes,
Like
exactly.
that 10,000, that number right at the bottom. If I can get it to turn on when I lift my wrist, which Apple does better, that 10,000 is a big deal for me. But if I don't hit that, before it made me feel guilty when I have an Apple Watch because I wasn't doing anything to do anything about it. But yeah, I think Fitbit has great exercise management, sleep management.
Yeah.
A lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
I just wish it were in the Apple the same way. But
I would have from Apple, Fitbit to Garmin to Apple.
yeah, trying to find the one that
Yeah,
works.
and I, you know, it's not to get on the watch discussion. It was just one of those, like, Fitbit for sure was the best fitness watch. And then Garmin was amazing, but it wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And then the latest Apple Watch actually is close enough to Fitbit type of feedback on the fitness side, where that's why I went. That's why I did
That's
another
where
Apple Watch.
that's where I'm at. Because
Yeah. The brand new one is so much better than any of the old versions when you want the fitness side of it and the sleep data. Like, I love the sleep data. I still love
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
anyway, so not to go completely.
yeah.
Technology discussion, but that was I just was kind of curious. I mean, Fitbit and like we work out all the time. And we mountain bike and do stuff together, and you know, as friends that we work with. But that's awesome, man. 40 pounds.
Yeah, that's amazing. Good work.
Yeah.
I want to talk disrupt before we
Yeah.
get to
jump into
the end portion here. Do you think that Utah is behind other states when it comes to like the HR industry and things that are being done?
I think if you would have told me when I got here 3 years ago, I would have said yes. When I got here, Disrupt wasn't here, and the only reason I did that, I kind of fell into it because I went to Denver. We were thinking about moving to Denver, and everyone told me to go to Disrupt there. And when we decided, we wanted to come home to Utah, they didn't have it here. No one knew about it here. No one was paying attention to anything outside of Utah.
Yeah.
And so I purchased the rights to that. I called Elisa, who was helping me find my gigs and recruiting for me.
So really quick, sorry, is it like a franchise?
Yeah, basically,
So
you buy the
own
routes.
Utah, the rights to Disrupt in Utah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You get a kind of a geography. I think St. George, Jake Rushton bought St. George, so he does it down there.
Okay.
So I got northern Utah, but yeah, I think the industry when I got here, I went to SHRM conference with everyone told me to go through here, and they just talked about the same old stuff. And when I networked with people, they were just passionate about the same old stuff. And so I think what I saw when I got here that I noticed, and we noticed when we got there was just an underground passion that came out with Disrupt, where I thought we were just going to get 100 people, like every other market in this country got. When they told me, you'll get 100 people, it's kind of a fun little event. But we had 300 people the first event that were all passionate about this is needed, we need to talk this way, So I think we're in a lot better place. The conversation has changed. SHRM, is the local, I think the people, a lot of the people that are involved in SHRM are disruptors,
Yeah.
coming in to help that change. And so they're doing a lot of great modern discussions now. So 3 years ago, I thought, I told people constantly HR here as an industry is behind by 20 years compared to where the Fortune 500s have to strip resources and identify why do we even have HR, and they modernized it. I think, the challenge here is CEOs, when they start up a company here, they're not developed in HR, they're developed in building their business, and the first time they think about HR is when they have to fire someone, do benefits.
When something comes up that they haven't,
Yeah.
it's like, well, hell, I gotta.
So
I gotta get a job.
that's why the market I think is behind, is because the first time you hire HR, if you don't know what HR is for the problem. And so that's what a lot of companies have done over time here, is they've just hired the same old HR. And so the talented HR people are going outside of the state to find the right gigs. I find that when I go to BYU and even Utah State, I don't think they'll admit to this, but I do think students are being told historically, if you really want to know good HR and experience good HR, get outside of this state. But that's starting to change, and I don't think we're as far as behind as we were back then when I started out here. I think we're in a really good place where the conversation is getting to CEOs now, and they're thinking about it. Companies are starting to hire CHROs here more and more. So I think it's in a great place. The business is great. It's just that I feel the HR has to catch up to the business side of it.
Yeah. So your conferences that you hold Disrupt is kind of like the TED Talk, right? It's like 5 minutes, it's quick, it's to the point. How do you determine who you're going to let speak?
We just let people apply. There's a little recruiting that'll take place, to get the names out there, see who's out there, but whoever applies has a chance to be on stage. And the principle we started out as is we don't want the establishment and the people that have done these great things to be the speakers of Disrupt. We want the people that are frustrated at the bottom to be the speakers of Disrupt. So it's really through an application process that we get the speakers, and it's surprising. We get a lot of people to apply, but it's surprising how scary that is for people to apply for our conference.
I bet.
Because they're fearful of saying things that they're going to get back to their company that they're frustrated about. And so, but some of the talks we've had have been really good, where people have just gotten up and shared their frustration about the environment, the situation, and really gotten some good concepts out there. I'm actually creating a parent LLC called Jumpspark to it, so we can start just having more conversations that are not controlled by a brand that I don't have control over.
Right.
Because Disrupt, it got canceled this year because of COVID.
Right.
We're trying to get it back where that's just kind of the trigger to the conversations that continue afterwards.
Do you think it would have been successful if you did virtual? Do you think you would have been fine this year?
Well, we weren't allowed to, just because the way they do it is you have to have the 5-minute talks that go global. So they have a global Venmo account where if you want to use their logo and get your videos on that, you have to have it be 5 minutes, PowerPoint, and videoed. And they really didn't have a lot of flexibility with that.
Okay.
I think there's some things we could have done. Just with everything going on. And Disrupt's honestly led by people that have full-time gigs. It's not like a full-time thing to make money off of. So we're really just focused on bringing it back stronger next year and just calling this year a wash.
Okay.
So
how many presentations, how many people go on usually per conference
about 10.
10?
Yeah, we'll have 10 talks.
How many people you have apply?
We usually have about 40 people apply.
Is that a tough process? Like, this one, like some I'm sure you probably look at and you're like, no, this isn't happening. But are there some that it's really hard to say no to?
Yeah, because we'll have the leadership team of Disrupt. Everyone votes on it and gives their feedback, but everyone's on a different page because everyone has a different passion.
Right. You got HR.
And you'll have very established people apply, and it's hard to say, are they giving something disruptive or something that they've been speaking about for the last year.
Yeah.
It's not easy to find the right people and find the right setup. And then the other thing that's not easy is a lot of people don't know Disrupt is built for experimentation and innovation, which means there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be flops, there's going to be stuff like that. And what I found with Utah is people have a high expectation for a conference because we're saturated with conferences here. And so they're always looking for the sexiest conference. And when we do a Disrupt, it's just supposed to be like Denver. We brought some Denver people here to Disrupt, and they said, you guys are a little bit too formal. You guys have a little bit too much process here. And what they were saying is, like, you're just supposed to have a computer, PowerPoint, just get up and do it. And, if it's good talk, great. If it's not, they did their thing. And so innovation is really about failure, and that's what we've tried to bring into it, is we're trying to get people up on stage, give them a chance, give them a shot, and some of them do well and some of them don't, because it's a stressful presentation all the time. So really, we're trying to make it an innovative conference that kind of bleeds out into other conversations, but people have a high expectation that when we get feedback on it, they're like, that wasn't as disruptive as I thought on that talk or that talk. And we probably need to do a better job messaging that, hey, if we get 2 or 3 good ideas out of that conference that have some legs, that's what we're looking for. Because
Yeah.
it's about innovation, not perfection.
Right.
So, yeah.
So when's the next one? When's your push it
It's going to be next May. So
May,
you were identifying the date for next May.
to? So yeah, all your speakers. Is it gonna be the same people that was gonna go 2020, but now they're pushed to 2021?
We got a strong lineup. Yeah, they're on hold. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Plenty of time to practice for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep that 5 minutes down.
Should be good next year.
You should be totally fine.
Yeah.
Good, good. All right, so thank you. This has been.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
awesome. That was good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
thanks for
at least
having
your
us.
kind of your history. That's just a very deep, very interesting. But the way you explained it, your history was amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's great. So you watched a few, you know how the end of this works.
Yeah, this is I was watching it last night, just, my wife was going to bed, I was like, I gotta binge watch, see what I'm getting into. Yeah, I saw the questions.
All right. So we've been doing some lyrics. Are you good with songs? You okay?
Yeah, just go for it.
Okay.
I'm prepared for anything that might not work for me.
I got 3 for you. I went like some 80s type stuff.
Okay.
That was good.
I thought it would be okay.
2 of us were born in the 80s.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I was
Or alive in
born
the 80s. Alive in the.
Yeah, okay. I try to discover a little something to make me sweeter. Oh, baby, refrain from breaking my heart. I'm so in love with you, I'll be forever blue, that you give me no reason why you make me work so hard. So I hear you calling. Oh, baby, please give a little respect to me.
You want me to name that song?
Yeah.
The thing that was coming to my mind that isn't it is the NSYNC Bye Bye Bye.
Well, hold on. Was it 2?
Is this the 80s?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Erasure.
Erasure.
Yeah.
Little respect.
Yeah, that was on my playlist.
Yeah, okay, that got me.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Now that I had a playlist. like,
Erasure,
okay.
oh my God.
That wasn't on my
I went
cassette
back.
tape. That was
And the
on my
way you
cassette
read
tape.
it, though. You read it.
Oh yeah, it's well that's the point. I gotta see.
I know.
I can't just
It wasn't that easy to do songs back then. If you remember, you had a cassette tape,
Yeah.
or did we have CDs back then? I think we just
See,
did
like
CDs.
I remember. So I have all older siblings,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this is all that they listen to. But I remember like our late pal trips, cassette tape. And you listen to the same song over and over, so you get the song, learn the lyrics.
Erasure didn't make it into my trips.
Well, this one may have not made it either. All right, next one. Okay. When I'm with you, baby, I get out of my head, and I just can't get enough, and I just can't get enough.
Just can't get enough.
All the things
Just
you
can't
do
get
to me,
enough.
and everything you said, I just can't get enough. I just can't get enough.
I know this song, just can't get enough. But I
Yeah,
don't
just can't get enough. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the name of the band.
Depeche Mode.
Oh. Yeah, that's a big name. That was a big
Yeah, I
name.
should have known that one.
I wasn't depressed enough to back then. Like I didn't dress like that. I didn't dress just normal. I just had basketball shorts on like it is. I
Yeah,
wasn't
that
a
was me.
professional guy.
All right, last one. She's got a smile that it seems
Seems
to
to me, reminds me of childhood memories.
where everything was as fresh as the bright blue sky.
Sky.
Now and then when I see her face, she
Take
takes
me
me away
away
to that special place. Yep.
And if I stare too long,
I'm hearing
I
the
finally
voice.
break down and cry.
I'm hearing the
You might have
voice.
to read that one.
Not yours.
Whoa, oh, whoa. Name of song.
It's not Aerosmith, but
No, it's supposed to be
Say close.
close.
That's your hint right there.
Bon Jovi. No.
Gun.
Guns N' Roses. Yeah.
Axl Rose.
Sweet child.
Sweet Child of Mine.
Yeah, no, I remember that one.
Yeah, when I went back with those ones. If you had to win a game show in order to stay alive, okay, your life is on the line, what show are you choosing to go on?
What game show? What's the one with the spinning wheel? Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel
Wheel of Fortune.
Fortune.
I don't know if that's the right one to stay alive. I just
You just know it.
I know I can spin a wheel.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Oh, we gotta do, Tiger Woods.
Yes, would you rather? Let's do this one. You ready for this
Did you
one?
hear this one?
Yeah.
So you know it already, you probably gonna be, but Tiger Woods driver to the shin, or Barry Bonds home run swing to the middle of the back.
So my first answer I'm ready with is I'm not dumb enough to put myself in that situation.
Yes. But you have to pick.
Yes,
I have to
the
pick.
rules are you gotta
You
pick
have
one.
to pick.
I did the Barry Bonds because my back has more, meat to it.
Ooh.
I'm scared to death of my shins.
All right, me and you in the same camp there.
This will be a good one. Would you rather be half your height or double your weight?
Half your height would. Hold on. Half your height is what? It's like that's like you're not even 3 feet tall. You're not even 3 feet tall. You're less than 3 feet tall. Or you're 300 pounds. You're 5'9", 300.
I'll go with the weight. Like, I need to stay above my wife. That's what
Okay.
That's the
3 feet. 3 feet. Too much.
Okay, would you rather have $100,000 now, or for 24 hours, every time you reach into your pocket, you pull out $2? Full 24 hours.
You pull out.
You gotta think about that one, because how many seconds are in a day, like?
So you basically, you're just for
$36,000.
$2, like all day long, just $2.
Yeah, every time you pull
How
it, yeah.
often?
There's
So
no
it's
way.
like 86,000 something seconds in a day. So depending on how long you can keep that up, you might come out on top.
You reach your hand into your pocket every time you pull out $2.
$2.
Without doing the math, I'd take the risk on the $2.
Okay. 24 hours. What'd you do?
I just take the money. You said 100?
100K.
I'll take 100K.
100K.
I just don't know if I want to do. I don't want to. I really think that you're going to have some nerve damage or some kind of muscle damage after 24 hours.
It's kinda like
you
a-
can't even sleep. That's the thing is you're staying
It's
awake.
kind of like if
love my
I
sleep.
have a pension at Kraft Foods that tells me how much I'm going to get for the rest of my life and how much my wife's going to get after I die. And me and my wife are debating that right now as far as, okay, when I get to 65 and I can cash that out, you want to cash it out or just have the guaranteed money? She wants to just have the guaranteed money. I want to cash it out.
She wants to
That's
put
the
her hand in
dilemma.
her pocket all day long, get $2 out. You want to get the 100K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though if I invest it right, I can get more than that. But
Yeah.
I think it's about safety versus risk.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, you won't be able to use your arm for weeks.
Would you rather have no taste or be colorblind?
Colorblind.
Not go colorblind.
Yeah,
Taste is
is good.
tough.
Yeah, but then you do the things you wouldn't want to eat very often. You probably wouldn't have a weight problem ever.
That's true, but life is, food is
That's
good.
How good is food?
I know, Reese's peanut butter cups so good.
Right?
Color's good, but
Yeah. Would you rather be the person who flips the switch during executions or the judge who decides who should get executed? Either way. You're gonna be
Either way, you're sending somebody to die.
that sucks. Yeah, I'd be the judge.
The judge, okay.
I'd never do the execution.
I think I'd have to go for the judge too. All right, would you rather always be 20 minutes late for important events or always be 2 hours early to everything else?
I think my marriage would be better off 2 hours early. My wife's always on time.
That one would suck. Like,
Yeah, wasted time.
just shows up here at 10:30 just waiting.
Yeah, just take a seat, buddy. We'll be with you in a
Yeah,
couple hours.
We got stuff to
You
do.
better bring a book
Got
with
something
you.
to keep us busy.
Yeah, that's right.
Would you rather never age physically or never age mentally?
Oh, that's deep. Never age physically or never age mentally. I want my mental, so
Mental state, never age mentally.
yeah, I want my
Okay.
mental.
Would you rather eat a raw onion or 2 whole? What's a thing of garlic? Is it a head or a clove? A head?
The clove is
I
the
wrote
small part.
The small.
right?
Okay, so the head. So the 2 whole
It's
things
a whole
of
thing
garlic.
of garlic.
Yeah, 1 raw onion or 2 heads of garlic.
But do you have to eat all the like weird
No, you can take, yeah,
scraps
take the
around the
paper
garlic?
stuff off.
I'll do the garlic. I like garlic.
Garlic, oh, that's so much.
You're talking about a whole onion? Like you
Yeah.
just like bite like an apple?
Yeah,
or
you take
cut
the,
it up,
take
you
the
get it
paper,
all
the
done.
texture stuff off, right?
Ooh.
Eat that, or the same thing with the garlic, you take all that crap off and then eat the.
Yeah, garlic.
Yeah, garlic. Seems like there's something to do with, I'm sure there's some health diet that has like, eat tons of garlic and you lose weight.
Your neighbors are gonna smell you on your
Yeah,
walks.
the wiener garlic neighbors.
That's fine.
Would you rather have cheese flavored toothpaste or ham scented deodorant?
Cheese flavored toothpaste.
And like a pungent cheese, like a Munster cheese.
Oh, toothpaste for sure.
Toothpaste.
Like you'd enjoy it. Like, yeah,
Maybe, I don't know, like some of those cheeses are not good. Yeah.
That's funny. This is funny. My wife just told me that she didn't want to tell me because she didn't want me to worry while I was losing weight. But she said my breath stunk for the first month when I actually started losing weight.
Really?
Yeah, and she said I think it's because your fat was burning fast enough to cause
Dude,
it. So the
funny
cheese.
conversation.
So I already know the cheese is gonna be okay.
I don't know if this is real, but I swear I've read this or I thought I'd learned this. To do like most of your calories, you burn calories through sweat, but when you're like sleeping or whatever, it's through your breath. Like where
Really?
a lot of like calories leave the body. Does that make any sense to you? I'm
I
pretty sure
would-
I read that.
So I'm pretty.
I don't know the science
So
on
one of
it.
the reasons I've lost weight is because
All your fat was coming
I
out of your
measure
breath.
myself, but you're only supposed to measure yourself every morning. But I measure myself at night just because I want to see where I end up and where I lose usually 1.5 to 2 pounds every night. So there's
Something there.
something there.
Something
That's what
there.
I've
All
learned.
your food breaking
Dude, your
down.
stinky breath, dude, it's all
It's
the
the
fat's
breath.
coming out. Yeah.
It's the breath.
All right, two more. All right, would you rather fight a chicken to the death every time you get into your car? Okay, every time you go somewhere, you gotta fight a chicken to the death.
Mr. Normal sized chicken?
Normal sized chicken, yep, every time. Or you have to fight a gorilla to the death once a year, but you get a sword. So once a year or every day, and it's just normal, right? Like I'm going to work, I know I gotta fight my chicken before I go to work, before I come home.
Chicken.
I like gorillas.
Every
Like,
day,
I
dude.
don't
How
wanna
many
kill a
times do you
gorilla.
get in your car?
Dude, but the problem is, what if you swing your sword and you miss? You're done. You're dead.
Yeah.
Like the guy will rip your arms off.
But yeah, maybe.
Chickens.
Oh, that's too risky.
I don't like.
Can
to
you
kill-
eat the chicken? Like I can save the chicken. Like I can just like pile
Sure,
it up.
yeah, you can eat it.
I don't like to
Oh.
kill. I don't like to kill animals. Like I'm glad I can go to the grocery store, but
Me too.
like the 8 feels more like I'm killing
A person.
a person.
It's to the, I mean, yeah.
With a
it's like,
sword.
dude, it's like, okay, I'm going to work, chicken. I gotta go get lunch, chicken. I gotta run to the gas station, chicken.
Oh, you get. Well, then I would take a bike.
No, it's normal. You're still driving your car like you
Yeah,
normally
that's right.
would. So it might be like 5 chickens a day you gotta kill.
Dude, that's right. That is so many chickens, dude.
Or once a year, every day on July 15th.
I'm
me
grabbing
and
my
gorilla
samurai sword
are
and
gonna
I'm
go
gonna
in.
fight a gorilla.
Yeah,
Do you Google these questions or you look them up on your own?
a little bit of both.
Dude, yeah, maybe I take the. Yeah, you're right, dude. That might be the gorilla.
Once a year.
That's so
You
many
could train.
chickens,
You could
dude.
train for it though, dude. You know what I mean? It's
You know how many times I leave in a night after work to go pick up kids
Yeah,
for like soccer or whatever? Oh my gosh, dude. That'd be 5 chickens at night. I mean, not even including the daytime, but lunchtime.
Yeah. Okay.
As funny as that sounds, that's one of the more interesting ones.
Okay,
And tough ones.
I need you to think of like the hairiest person you know.
Okay.
Okay, you got that person?
No.
Nope. All right. Just think of a super hairy person.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
Would you rather use the hair, right? They shave their body. You have to use that hair as facial hair. You have to glue it on your face as facial hair for, I have a week. I'm going to say a month. No, we'll keep it a week. Facial hair for a week, or eat 1 ounce of that person's hair. So it could be done quickly.
1 ounce.
Whatever, 1 ounce.
Hair
or
is
for a
not
week.
very heavy. That's a lot of hair.
Yeah.
It's probably a lot of hair.
Yeah, it would be a lot.
I don't like that. I'll wear it. I
You
don't
wear
like
it.
eat hair. I'm not gonna do that.
1 week, you glue it on your face for 1 week.
Yeah.
Can you pick what hair from
You just
What
know
section of
it's,
the body?
it's shaved and it's compiled, and it's just like they're taking something, you don't know where it's coming from.
So it could be pubes.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes. A little bit of chest,
Little chest, little
a
armpit,
little armpit, you don't know. It's just,
So I can
and
wash
you're
it.
eating that
it's
too.
here. It's here. It's
I
just
can wash it, like I'll wash it.
You get in the shower, yeah. It's not coming off though. It's staying on for a week.
Okay, that's what I'll wash it. Before I put it on.
Oh, sleeping on your pillow, dude. It's like, oh, I just can't even. I think I'll eat it.
And everyone, you just, with your tongue, you go like that. Gross.
I might eat it.
Awesome. David, also, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being on. It was
That's
kind of
good.
fun, dude. That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And cut.
Cut. You guys usually